Loneliness can have a really big impact on your life, mentally and physically. It can also have effects on the community as a whole.
Certainly can. This morning we're joined by Dr. Jodi News to talk about how disconnection impacts various areas of our day-to-day life and how to foster more connections. Thank you so much for waking up with us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks. I'm so happy to be here.
Absolutely. So let's dive right in. Let's talk for someone sitting at home who says, okay, I've heard the term epidemic of loneliness before. What exactly does that mean?
Well, we have more and more social disconnection happening in our culture, smaller and smaller households, people with not having as much time with other people or having social connections. People are involved in less things. Yes, we had the pandemic that exacerbated everything, but also spending more time on our phones or with electronics increases this as well.
It seems like people are comfortable being by themselves. You know, I know your book and your podcast focus mostly on teenagers, but, you know, as adults, like you said, people aren't volunteering. You know, you don't see as many people younger that, you know, work for volunteer fire departments or volunteer EMS. You don't see people doing bowling leagues, stuff like that. People just like being by themselves, it seems.
Yeah, I think when we're not feeling really good, we tend to isolate ourselves, but that actually makes us feel much worse. So with the growing epidemic of mental health issues, we're having more and more loneliness because people withdraw when they're feeling bad. But actually, a lot of the symptoms of anxiety and depression are actually symptoms of isolation. And I think that gets really confusing. But there's more concerns even because when people are lonely and isolated, it tends to affect, first of all, their anxiety and fear, and also their sense of themselves, which is going to increase social conflict, right, or disinterest in social issues. So it is a real big problem in our community.
I have to imagine one of the first ways that this issue can be addressed is to take the devices and set them down so we're not scrolling on social media for half our day and scrolling our lives in the weekend away. But I do want to talk about how you foster connections, because connections aren't made the same way as they used to be. You don't, you don't meet somebody out at a bar and ask them out on a date. Now, it's all done online, and there's a lack of communication skill at that level.
I think so, because we, being involved in hanging out at the cafe in the streets, or, being with people all the time, of course, it's going to build our skills in communicating and learning. There's been a lot of studies that show that when kids grow up with their grandparents in the same household, the stress levels and the mental health problems are less, because there's more people around to model problem solving. There's more people to help or do things with, so you're out of your own negativity in your head. So I think that is important, having that practice. So getting involved in something, helping other people. We have to push ourselves to do things. In families, when the adults are involved in things, the kids are often involved in things. So it's important for us to think about that for our own mental health and also for our kids.
We have less than a minute left, but I do want to talk about your podcast and your book. Tell people where they can go to learn more about this topic of the epidemic of loneliness.
Yeah, so my book's called Anxiety, I'm So Done With You, because we're having such a problem with mental health issues right now, especially with teenagers. And so I have a podcast, same name, Anxiety, I'm So Done With You. So you could just look that up online, and the book's sold everywhere books are sold.
Darn right we are done with anxiety. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
You're
We really
welcome.
appreciate it. It's a great conversation and an important topic to be discussed. It is. Thank you again. We'll post all of this information and more on our website, foxrochester.com, after the show this morning.